All right, we're back in Mr. Blaze's kitchen. It's not a Monday, it's a Friday, so we're not making a meal, we're making something different. And you want to tell them what we're making?
We are making sausage.
We are making sausage today. So we have our meat grinder sitting right here in our big plastic bin. I got 15 pounds of pork shoulder, chopped it up into 1-inch strips, and I have half of it sitting in the freezer and half of it sitting... Hang on. I have half of it sitting in the freezer and half of it sitting in the fridge. And that's very important if you're trying to make sausage. It's got to be ice cold when you put it through the grinder so you don't get fat smear. Otherwise, the fat in it will kind of melt down and then it makes your sausage kind of have a strange texture. So we have it sitting in the freezer. I'm going to pause this for a second. I'm going to assemble the rest of the meat grinder and we'll show you phase 1 of grinding the meat up.
You will love it.
And you will love it. We will be right back.
We are back, chefs.
We are back, chefs. We have the grinder assembled. Notice, you might be able to see in the video, maybe not, but there's frost on it. I had it in the freezer, like I said, for 20 minutes or so. The pork has been sitting in there for a little bit longer than 20 minutes. It's been there for about 40 minutes. And like I said, I cut it into 1-inch strips. They're kind of frozen, and we're going to run them through the meat grinder. I run it on a coarse grind, but you could do it on a fine grind, just personal preference. And we're going to make 3 different types of sausage today. We're going to make a hot Italian, a sweet Italian, and then a maple blueberry breakfast sausage. So I have my grinder helper here. She's going to turn the grinder on for us. We're going to start running it through as soon as I find my plunger, and we'll show you what it looks like when it comes out. Turn it on.
On, chef.
Stop it. Okay, so we ground it up. You can see there, it has all come out. 7.5 pounds of ground pork. We use a coarse grind. Like I said, I'm going to put that back in the bowl. I'm going to get the bowl back into the fridge. Let the other batch in my freezer, I'm going to let that freeze for maybe 30, 40 minutes or so. And then I'm going to start to season up, and I'll show you what that looks like later. Here's phase 2. Now, you might be wondering, what happened to the grinder? Well, the grinder's gone. The meat has been ground up. It's been sitting in the freezer. What I've been working on is this spice mixture. Now, this is going to be my sweet Italian sausage. So what I have in here is some toasted ground fennel seed, ground anise, or some people say anise. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but brown sugar, salt, pepper. I think that's about it. The recipe will be down in the description. I'll put it down there. But and then you just put this in, mix it up, and I put in a 1 cup of ice water to help incorporate everything. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this back in the fridge for a couple hours, probably 2 or 3 hours at least. Let it sit in the fridge for a while and let all these flavors, let the salt kind of melt and the sugar melt in there and dissolve and everything and get mixed in. I'm going to mix up the sweet. I'm going to mix up the hot. I already have the maple blueberry in the fridge, and I'm going to taste that in a moment. Fry up a little chunk in the pan and just make sure it tastes right before I decide to freeze it or case it up. And then I also made a garlic Italian, which is the same recipe as this, but then I also added some fresh garlic just for an extra kick. So I'll show you what this phase looks like mixing it up. I'm going to put it back in the bowl and let it mix up. So we'll sprinkle on the seasonings. And yes, there's a lot, but 5 pounds of meat is also a lot. So we're going to mix on the seasonings. Get 1 cup of ice water, and it is important that you have ice water because we want to keep this meat ice cold. As soon as I put my 100-degree hands in here and start mixing it up, that fat's going to start to melt and mix up, and I don't want that to happen. I want to keep it as solid as possible. So I'm just going to gently mix this up, get everything incorporated in here. Once I get it mixed up, and as soon as that water hits those seasonings, you can definitely smell them. So I'm going to get everything mixed up, get it incorporated. Like I said, pop it back in the fridge for, I don't know, a couple hours. All right, we're back. The sausage has rested. It's been in the fridge this whole time. What I now am going to do is use my sausage stuffing machine, and I'm going to now case it up. And what I use is I use natural casings. You can buy synthetic casings made of collagen, but I prefer the natural casings. And you can buy these online on Amazon, but I buy them at a local grocery store. And what this is it is the lining of an intestine of an animal. So it's an all-natural casing, and you put a little bit of water in the end of it, and then you just slide it onto, this is called the horn, this tube that sticks out, and this is where the sausage is going to come out of here. So you just slide it on the horn, and you ultimately then will, you know, I'll show you what it's going to look like as we actually stuff the casings. And we're going to do the sweet Italian first. You'll see what it looks like. Now, final phase. You can see I have the horn completely loaded with my casing, and the hopper over here is filled. You probably can't see it in the video, but there's condensation all over the outside of it because, again, you want to keep this meat cold through the entire process. I know I've said that a lot, but it is key to making sausage. And maybe you've always wondered how sausage is made and how it's cased and exactly what happens, but this is pretty much how it goes. I have Mrs. Blaze over here helping me, and she's going to run the crank side, so you may see her hand in there, and then you're going to see the sausage coming out of here in ultimately what's going to be this one big continuous long link of probably 5 feet long or so, and then I will twist it up into individual links for the last part, and you'll see that in a second. And go ahead. Now you're going to see some air coming out here first. Oh, hold it. All right, what I need to do now is I need to tie the end of this off. So I just tie a quick little knot here. And then we'll run the links out. And you're going to see this in a second once I get my knot in. Okay, let it go. So you'll see the sausage coming out here. Go ahead, keep going. Mrs. Blaze is a talented sausage stuffer because she's holding Josephine with one hand and stuffing the sausage here, turning the crank with the other hand. It's a family affair.
We're done.
Okay. Now, that's what you end up getting, and I'll show you this in a second. Now, here's the final shot. That's what you end up with. A wheel of sausage that probably weighs about 4.5 pounds because there's still maybe a ½ pound or so stuck in here, which I keep as loose sausage. And then what I do with that is I just vacuum seal it in a bag and keep it if I want to make tomato sauce or put it on pizza, something like that. But this is pretty much it. Then what I'm going to do, the final part of this, is I need to put this into links, which is pretty easy. You kind of just grab the end of it where it started. You figure out how long you want a link, and you kind of twist it off like this, and then you end up with these kind of gorgeous looking sausage links. You saw everything that goes in it. It's pork, salt, pepper, a couple spices, that's it. No preservatives, no odd ingredients, things you can't pronounce, that's it. I'll vacuum seal this stuff, and then we have sausage in the freezer whenever we want. Hope you guys give it a shot. It's a fun family thing to do. I know there's some extra equipment that you need, but really you could buy the pork pre-ground at a local grocery store, and this sausage stuffer that I bought, which is, not a professional grade one, you could get it on Amazon for, I don't know, maybe about $100. And it's kind of a fun thing. It's an investment. You're paying way less for the pork than you would for sausage in a store. Probably a fraction of the cost, a fourth of the cost maybe. And so it kind of pays for itself in time as you end up using this. But this one's obviously a bit more complicated than some of the kid recipes, but I wanted to make this one for a while. I thought it would be a fun thing for you guys to try as, some families are stuck at home. It's always kind of a fun little hobby to try and something to get into. Good luck. Let me know how you make out.